This is all potential, and we know we have to get your input into this, and we've already engaged with the HTMA, and thank you very much for responding to us on our thoughts of how we go about doing this. And I'd like to share with you the feedback that we've had from the HTMA in case you haven't seen it before. You kindly conceded that there are already examples of good practice in what we do. Thank you very much for that. You pointed out that poor client inventories deliver poor value, and I think we heard this morning the importance of understanding our network, understanding the condition of our network, and the importance of having good inventories. And that's something that we're going to influence with the work that we're doing on the common systems across London. Many of these things we know, longer contracts are more cost effective. We're looking at having a target cost approach here, and there was support from the HTMA in the target cost approach. There is a view that many of the schedules of rates across London are often rather amateur, and that in itself creates overpricing. So this is the reason why we're working with boroughs, with the supply chain, to get the best common specification that we can. Traffic management is the most unpredictable variable, and that goes back to the idea of us as client understanding the costs. It's no good trying to hide the costs, in my view. We need to understand the costs, then we can make the decisions as to whether to do things, not do things, or do things differently. And design and build can deliver better value. And those number of contracts across London were just the works contracts. It doesn't even talk about the number of consultants contracts across London. Now, you also told us what we know, which is risks should be placed with those best able to manage them. But I do absolutely accept and realise that we as clients need to practice what we preach in this regard. It's no good just sort of nodding and paying lip service to it. We have to actually do that and work that out with you. I don't know what the Highways Agency's approach to inflation was intending to be with the asset support contracts, but you absolutely point out that inflation needs to be recognised in contracts, and that's part of, obviously, this risk aspect of things. And that, yes, larger contracts should deliver economies of scale to London. Something in the region of £450 million is spent in London on highways. And the potential that we're looking for in terms of grouping is potentially 4 or 5 contracts across London. One of the huge debates that we've been having across London with local authorities, various boroughs, is the condition of contract. There's a huge history in London of having either bespoke contracts or ICE fifth contracts, all sorts of contract conditions across London. And the HTMA have given their support to NEC, and one of the difficulties I've been having is getting good dialogue about our decisions going forward, rather than people being entrenched in their views. And one of the recent things we've done across London is to have a NEC workshop, which was attended by some of the contractors that are here, some of London's contractors, by NEC themselves, and actually have an open debate about the strengths and potential weaknesses. And one of the biggest things that came out for me was actually it's nothing to do with the inappropriateness of the conditions of contract. It's just a fear of using it and a fear of the new. So that's another area where one of the work streams of our Transforming London's project is a training and education programme to help people to help people use contracts that help with collaboration. But, of course, you have concerns around how any new contracts would actually work in practice. And this is where I come on to the dancing theme. You know, those dances don't just happen just like that, without practice, without people treading on toes along the way, without people tripping over. They end up being perfect and very well choreographed and very well tuned. Which is why it's not just at the start of the contracts that we need to collaborate, it's right early on, and it's exactly what we're doing now, and we appreciate those concerns, and we want to work with you to iron out those concerns. This is... sorry, I think I've missed out a slide here. One of the pieces of work that we're doing across London on achieving this is to work with existing borough suppliers. And one of the things that we've been able to do was to get both the supplier and the clients to score each other out of 10 against a number of performance attributes. And we can see very interestingly, where some of the weaknesses lies. And, you know, huge areas where very easily solved, aspects like billing that could easily be dealt with. And some local authorities are absolutely shocking in terms of their billing aspects. And if I was a contractor, I wouldn't put up with it. But these are the sort of things that we're ironing out now and finding out now. Workload planning, I'm absolutely convinced that a number of you contractors actually price up your rates because you know that that local authority won't be giving you their programme until the day before the 1st of April, whereas you price it differently for those that give you early warning of the programme. We're looking at current inspection regimes as well across London. But I think one of the things that we need to understand and keep coming back to all the time is the importance of getting the clients to understand the benefits of this, getting local authority engineers in particular to understand the benefits of this. And if you look at you know, the level of business demand certainty compared to the level of dependency between client and supplier. You know, if you have low in both of these areas, you're in the adversarial situation, and I think that's generally where we are. We do want to get to a place of having much better business demand certainty, but how much dependency there should be between client and supplier for these contracts, we're not sure at this stage. We're thinking that the desired position is the tactical collaboration. But maybe in the future we should be going to the model that Val described, which is the strategic collaboration model. And again, that's part of the debate and the establishing what each other's views are, that we need to understand this. I think possibly I'm suggesting this is all in the future and that we don't actually do anything collaboratively in London at all at the moment. Well, that's certainly not the case. One of the projects that had to be delivered in record time was one of the mayoral priorities in terms of his cycle superhighways. And those cycle superhighways, as one might imagine, go across various different highway authorities' roads. They don't stop at the political boundary, they go across the political boundaries. And in order to deliver these schemes, we did have one supplier working across borough boundaries and on TfL roads. We've started the collaboration here. It can work. Yes, there were metaphoric treading on toes along the way, but that's the practice. This is the start of the practice, the start of the choreography of the dance. And if I just put this very busy slide on the wall here, which you probably can't see at all, and it doesn't matter that you can't see it, because you can understand, or you can imagine how many different dependencies there are for us in terms of delivering what's required for the Olympic route network in London. All the aspects to do with road operations, to do with enforcement. There are a huge amount of interdependencies. And of course, the Olympic route network does transcend both the strategic road network and local roads across various boroughs of various different political persuasion. And this is absolutely an example where there is a need for total collaboration across TfL, across boroughs, across utilities, across contractors, across cleansing and refuge collection. The interdependencies are huge and the critical paths all over the place. It transcends all the parties. And this is our, in my view, dance rehearsal, because we've already started collaboratively working with a whole host of contractors and local authorities. There can't be trouble ahead on this one, because this is about the only project where there's absolute certainty of the date when it's got to be delivered. So where we want to be is partnership thinking and working. We've heard earlier Alistair talking about the importance of leadership, and Val talking about the importance of ownership. That's exactly where we want to be. Our orientation is towards performance. We want to challenge behaviours and actions, and we want to promote positive outcomes. It's about long-term thinking and planning, and we're looking for wins at all levels: local, borough, sub-regional, pan-London.
But while there's moonlight and music and love and romance,
this can only work as a partnership. We have got to face the music and dance. The dance and the music have to fit together. That's another thing that was alluded to earlier, the importance of having the right contractor and the right authority for the right geographic fit of London, potentially. But one of the things we have got to do is anticipate each other's moves. There's no good standing back and waiting. I don't think it's a good idea for any of us to dance on our own. And actually, do you remember when you were young, well, I don't know, maybe you weren't like that, but a lot of boys I've heard sort of stand there scared to ask someone to dance. Well, don't be a wallflower, join in this. We want to get the best for London out of this. Yeah, let's learn not to tread the toes. But I think the audiences, and I'm talking about the audiences being the users of the network, your shareholders, and our politicians, will enjoy the performance.
Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music.